Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum, and this is the show where we discuss the mindset, tactics, and tools to become a successful real estate investor through my foreclosure profit system. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Zillow and how they intend to take over the MLS for real estate agents and investors and how it's going to affect us. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I'm your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum. And once again, this is the show where we discuss the foreclosure profit system and how it's helping investors just like you to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal with an average target profit of only $25,000 while you sit at home and the system kind of runs for yourself and makes some money. No, it's not that easy. No, it's not that fun, but it can make you a ton of money and help to bolster your investment capital. And a lot of people get into real estate investing because they want the freedom that comes with it. They want to be able to live life on their terms, how they want to do it. Well, the foreclosure profit system can help you to live life the way you want to live it. All you got to do is be willing to do a deal in the markets that we're targeting right now. That's Colorado and Arizona. You must be liquid to about $50,000 or more in order to buy into the deal. And you must be heavily coachable because the real estate market happens so fast that you don't have time to learn on the fly. The best way to learn is to actually do deals, not talk about it, not get mentored or trained by a guru, but to actually do a deal. And the foreclosure profit system can help you with all of that. Head on out to foreclosureprofitsystem.com. Click on that link. We'll get you details and I get started in that. All right, let's hop in. So Zillow, there's been this love-hate relationship with real estate agents for sure, and Zillow for a long time, right? And that love-hate relationship largely comes from the fact that Zillow has all the real estate data. I remember when I was a young agent just getting started out, there was a summit, a technology summit at Pikes Peak Association of Realtors. And we sat around a lot of the major players in the real estate industry. And the discussion was there's this company called Zillow, and they're asking to get a data feed for our data so they can publicize our listings on a national basis. And I remember being vehemently against it. I'm going, this is a terrible idea. Because once you give an aggregator that much data, it could end poorly later. At the time, I was transitioning from a job in the IT field to a full-time job in real estate. So I fully understood the power of that data. And I don't know, maybe the constituents, people I was working with at the time didn't quite understand the ramifications of what would happen if the data was given to a private party. Well, needless to say, Zillow won that debate. They ended up becoming a live stream, not only for my local MLS, but every MLS in the United States of America. They paid very well to get it inwards on that. They started assimilating real estate data at the largest level ever done in history. They are now a source of pretty much every property. You can Google an address and you will 9 times out of 10 find Zillow's listing at the top of it. The 1 time out of 10 you'll find Redfin, and in other cases you might find another website. But in most cases, when you're talking about organic property data, Zillow is far and away the leader on that. Well, Zillow makes their money. A lot of people don't know that they're a free service for the consumer. They can go obviously look for property data, set up showings, etc. But they make their money by selling ad space to agents. They literally have made over $1 billion in doing just that. One article reports that Zillow's revenue is in the area, and I don't remember the exact figure, but let's look it up here real quick. $2.2 billion. Okay, and that's down 15% from 23, but they were up. They totally They had a big increase in Q4, up 554%. But overall, Zillow's over $2 billion a year, and most of their revenue comes from selling ad space to agents who are looking to have conversations with would-be buyers and sellers. Okay, so already Zillow is taking a large chunk out of the real estate income, the revenue that's brought in. They've wanted to play nice with the agent because they didn't want to outwardly say, hey, we're taking over, because the agents would stop paying the billions of dollars worth of revenue that they currently bring in. So they didn't want to wage war with agents, but now it's starting to look like that they're going to change that. One of the big changes they just mentioned, I'm going to share my screen here, is that they're not going to be allowing for listings that are not shared via the MLS. They're basically saying, if you're not on there, the for sale by owner thing's kind of going away. If you don't give Zillow access to your listing, then you're not going to be able to post it on the MLS at all. Right. And it's a part of NAR's delayed marketing policy, but it conflicts a little bit with that. Right. And EXP is now a launch partner with this, saying that this is about delivering value and building trust. But EXP has always been a little bit more progressive of a real estate agency. One of the first agencies to go with a virtual workspace. I was with EXP for a short stint of time. They've got a lot of stuff going for them on the technology side. And them partnering with Zillow in anything, in my opinion, is absolutely dangerous. But partnering with them in the how listings are publicly marketed, or whether you can put them on there, is super dangerous. So what does this mean for the real estate agent to start with? Well, let's look at a world where the MLS is not necessary. Okay, the MLS is usually run by the local board. In Colorado Springs, Colorado, that is the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors. Here in Arizona, where I am right now, by the way, recently closed on our property in Scottsdale. So I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona right now, and we are building the foreclosure profit system to be able to do deals right here in the Scottsdale market. Couple of perks on that. I don't want to deviate too far, but number one, it's important for us to not slow down in the winter. We've been doing that for some time, where we lose a lot of momentum in the winter. So I'm getting rid of that. And the second reasoning is largely that I'm tired of the winter. And I talk about that on the show all the time. But anyway, getting back to it. If Zillow takes over the MLS, okay, if we have a situation where Zillow's the MLS, the board is not necessary. What this is going to mean is a listing fee. Because right now, why do consumers pay to get onto the MLS? They want MLS exposure. They want market exposure. Where are the buyers? The multiple listing service. So they pay the agent for access to that. Whereas there have been flat fee listing services all over. That's always been the case. There have been agents to work for a discount or a flat fee and put it on the MLS. It's been super common. There are national flat fee services. Flat fee MLS comes to mind, where you can get on the market for as low as $300. Okay. The need to list with an agent went away a long time ago, but it's still more common than not that people hire a real estate agent to list their home. Okay. Well, bring in Zillow into this conversation. If Zillow takes over the MLS, what I believe is going to happen is Zillow is going to offer it for free, which would be devastating to listing agents, or they can afford to do it for so inexpensively, $1,000, $500 to get on the MLS, and now give the property the same national exposure they were given when they listed with a local agent. I think it's going to be very difficult for local agents to compete in that market, right? They're going to be forced to drop their fee. They're going to have to explain, why their services are more valuable against $1,000. And I'm just theorizing on that, but Zillow test marketed a listing program many years ago at $995. So I believe they'll come in somewhere around that price point, maybe even lower. And now suddenly you're on the MLS in a sense, and they'll be able to list on because again, they have the data feed with Pikes Peak Association and all the other MLS as well. So you're going to be on the MLS. You're also going to be on Zillow, and you're not going to you're not going to be able to tell them apart anymore. And we're kind of there now, right? Do we know for certain if a property is listed on Zillow or the MLS, right? Am I saving to move to Paradise Valley? Man, Dixon, I've been through Paradise Valley and it's beautiful. I'm in Scottsdale now, right outside of Old Town. And so I love Scottsdale, but man, Paradise Valley is definitely on the bucket list. Thanks for bringing it up, and thanks for attending, Dixon. Good to have you. So jumping back in, a national MLS is imminent, right? If it's not Zillow, it's going to be somebody else. And then that's the challenge. Like Zillow already has all the organic data. The question becomes, what do we need the local board for at this point? right? And I've had that argument for some time. What are we getting out of paying the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors, the fees that we pay for that, for MLS access, maintaining that? If that were not the case, we did not need PPAR to do MLS access, would we need the MLS at all? And then that's what the discussion is happening right now at the Zillow level. The short answer is no. And so from an agent angle, I'd be very concerned if I were an agent right now, because a world without the MLS means that they're not going to be able to charge as much for listing fees. My clients already get a substantial discount on their listing fees. We're down to $2,500, which is going to save you up to 10 grand on a typical deal if you're at a $400,000 price point. But even without my program being kept into account, most people are paying that 3%. And a lot of people are not going to want to pay that 3%, especially if Zillow can get you the same exposure, ultimately get the property sold for $1,000 or $2,000, whatever Zillow might come out at, right? So from an agent angle, very scary stuff if that happens. Let's talk about it from a consumer angle, because investors are consumers of the MLS in a way, right? We have to get our properties marketed and sold on the same platform so we can expose it to agents, and more importantly, to buyers. Remember that the goal of the MLS was for an agent marketplace to exist. Licensed agents could see what was listed on the MLS and they could bring their buyers to that. In the old days, they literally had printed sheets, right, where you would print out whatever listings the office had. You would have to go to the office that had the listings and you would know what was for sale. Then the MLS centralized that data on a regional level. Now Zillow's proposing centralizing that data on a national level. I believe it's inevitable, and I believe that the investor's actually going to benefit from it, because gone are the days where we're going to be expected to pay or even want to pay 3% on our listings. Again, I've already gotten that number down in current time frame, but we're talking about that happening on a national basis. The total transaction costs to get a house transaction completed are going to come down. It is going to be a lot more cost effective than it is right now, and that savings is going to turn into more profit to the investors. So now, as always, is the best time to start investing in real estate, because you want to get your systems dialed in. So when we could add potentially 10,000 or more per deal, like I already am doing so with my system, but when everybody's doing that, it's going to push the revenue income that you can make from flipping properties. That increased revenue is going to increase the number of investors who want to come to market, and that's going to make this more competitive than it is right now. That competitive space is actually good for investors, although it's going to be harder to find deals if you're an amateur. Pros like myself and my clients who are utilizing my experience are able to benefit from the fact that new people are not coming in as fast, because it's a more competitive environment. It's also going to be less expensive if the Zillow thing takes place, and that less expensive means that each deal is going to pay you as the investor a little bit more than you were making before, maybe $10,000 to $12,000 more than you were making before for doing the same activity. This is the future. It is going to happen. We've got to get out in front of it. The idea behind the foreclosure profit system is capitalizing on the fact that we're anticipating where the market is going next. Where are the hot spots in the market, neighborhood-wise, nationally speaking? Where we get the best deals on foreclosures, right? And obviously a national MLS means that they're all going to be in one location. So we're going to be able to find those foreclosures on a national basis much sooner. There are already a ton of investors, a ton of investors who are investing nationally, what they call virtual flipping. Okay, it's being done now, but what you're going to see is a big push to that. And my clients are out in front of this because we're already doing deals in the Colorado market where I'm from. And now we're going to be doing deals in the Arizona market because I'm down here getting set up. Hopefully one day, Paradise Valley, Dixon, to your point, here's hoping. In the meantime, getting your systems and processes set up, your money correct, what you need for down payment, and establishing a relationship with your lenders is critical. Guys, you got to understand that a continuity-based business in flipping requires that you find deals consistently, analyze them, fund them, fix them, and flip them. But when you're doing all those things well, you're going to find more deals at a lower cost, be able to analyze them faster and more accurately, which we're working through now. Fund those deals with lenders who are used to working with you. They've seen your LLC before. They've watched you do a deal and then bring the capital back plus interest. And they're like, man, we can trust Joe. Joe's done 10 deals with us. I was to the point when I first started out with my experience, I was like everybody else, 15% down, right? Then it went down to 10% down with my lenders. I got down to 5% down for a while. And then towards the end of 22, when things were really booming, my lenders were funding 100% of my deals because they just wanted to deploy capital into the rapidly accelerating market, but they wanted to deploy that capital with experienced investors. Tying that back to this Zillow transition or potential Zillow transition is if we can do this less expensively and our profitability goes up, we're going to have more people doing it. So you've got to look at the Zillow MLS move as an opportunity to make more per deal for sure, but also to get your systems dialed in sooner. So when the rush really happens in the investing space, you got to remember, this is an ebb and flow business, right? There's a lot of money to be made in the boom years, and everybody thinks we're heading into a boom year. We've had 2-3 years where, 22 was bad because interest rates went up. 23 was a little worse, right? Because we had the effect of the interest rate. 2024 was the worst market we've seen in 30 years in real estate, okay? So now heading into 25, it really seems like we can't go any further down. Certainly could be wrong, don't want to be wrong, but at this stage, it doesn't seem like it's likely they're going to go further down. What we are going to see, though, is a flattening, right? What's the Fed try to do with the rates staying up? And what's you hear the pressure going on between Donald Trump and Powell about where should we be on interest rates? Trumpy Bear is pushing hardcore on you got to drop rates. The economy's struggling. I tend to agree with him, but I also see Powell's side of this. We don't want to end up in another hyperinflation economy, right? So you have to, as an investor, anticipate the future of the market. And as we're seeing this Zillow transition, the fact that agents are going to become less of a part of the transaction. And again, let's look at industries where that's been the case already. What happened to the travel agent? Well, I don't call a travel agent when I travel anymore. I go to Expedia, right? What happened to the insurance agent? When I want to quote an insurance, I can go to geico.com, right? The future of real estate is people are going to look for the least costly way to get the desired result, and they're not going to be as concerned about the human interaction. I'm not saying agents are gone. I'm saying there's going to be less of them if this happens, and the ones that are going to make it are going to be more experienced, right? It's just going to cut down the need for, with no disrespect, but the soccer mom real estate agent is going to really struggle in a very competitive environment like this, especially when they're trying to compete with Zillow. Okay, so that future is imminent for me. I think we're going to see a lot of transition of people not doing as many deals that cost as much. You're going to see agents getting out of the industry a little bit. And if this Zillow transition actually takes place, which it looks like it's going to, or it's heading down that way, then things are going to change drastically. So, here's just a quick article from Real Estate News. They're talking specifically about publicly marketed listings not shared being MLS. It basically means if you start promoting them via social media and yard signs and et cetera, that's allowed by the NAR, then they're not going to let you list it on Zillow. Okay, and what they're basically saying is you got to list it with us first before you try to sell it on your own. This is the first step, I believe, into a national MLS where everybody's going to list on Zillow because they're going to want that market exposure that you have to pay big money for on social media. You got to pay a lot for it in other areas. Zillow's going to offer you that exposure for free, and that's going to absolutely change the way the marketing works for real estate in general and the way that we buy and sell homes. So we want to anticipate, get out in front of that, and utilize that to our advantage to the best of our ability. So that's what's happening in real estate, guys. If you want to get started in investing and get your systems and whatnot set up, you need to look no further than the foreclosure profit system. Let's hop on a call, you and me. We'll discuss how the system works. We'll make sure you're capitalized well enough to do it. And we'll start putting you into live deals right now where you can start making an average target profit of $25,000 while you manage the process and live your life on your terms by finding the financial location and time freedom that only real estate investors enjoy. With that, that's really our show for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in each and every single week to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I hope that you'll reach out and get started in the system. My name is Donnie Corum, the Foreclosure Deals Coach. Thanks again for tuning in. And remember, don't buy a house, buy a deal.